Hello everybody! So this is the first time I'm doing a recording of my voice during the PowerPoint presentation. I've never done this before, so this is kind of new to me. A little bit about the presentation. I'm basing most of this on common sense. I mean, to be honest, I don't feel that I need to put a whole lot of graphs and bar graphs and this and that, but just good old common sense. It goes a long ways. So with that, here is getting on the right track. Let's go. So starting off, how did we get off track in the first place? Well, there's many reasons that can happen, but here's a few simple, easy reasons that happen frequently. You stopped caring about your people. That's a big one. You stopped wondering how they were. You stopped wondering about their well-being. You lacked empathy with them. You would ask them how they were doing, but then you made it clear that you really didn't care. That's not cool. So there's another one. Dishonesty. Lying to your people is a sure way to get off track. You can't lie to your people. Be honest. Always be honest with them. A division between you and them. You made it very clear that you're the boss. You're the big honcho. You're the head cheese. It shouldn't be that way. Yes, you are in charge of them, but that doesn't mean you should be a dictator either. So on that, you stopped wanting to know the people who work for you. That's a big one. You want to know who the people are. When you stopped really caring about who they are, that begets a lot of resentment from them. What happens when we get off track? So just to throw this in there, I'm going to be doing a lot of referencing to the movie Office Space because I believe that is a funny movie, but yeah, it's an excellent movie that shows what not to do in an office. And just for point of fact, I have worked in an environment that was verbatim almost exactly like that. So it was interesting. So anywho, so what happens when we're off track? Well, big ones. Morale goes down. Productivity goes down. Work absences increase. Work absences increase. That drops your productivity down, obviously. Meaningful communication breaks down. People stop talking to each other. People stop talking to you as the leadership. And when communication breaks down, that's when real problems start coming into play. Unnecessary stress levels increase. Yeah, nobody wants that. Life can be stressful enough. Depending on the job you're working in, it can be just as stressful. So adding unnecessary stress to it it's just ridiculous. You shouldn't do it. And the big one, resentment of managers and supervisors shows up. Yes. When you're off track, when your people suddenly realize that you don't care about them, they're not going to really care much about you nor really like you. And so resentment of your supervisors, and i.e. you, is going to start coming up, and you're not going to like it, they're not going to like it, and there's just nothing good that's going to come of that. So, how do we get back on the right track? Good old Matt Foley. He can kind of lead the way a little bit, but I'll pick up where he leaves off. So, how do we get back on track? Is it possible? Yes, it is possible. Yes, there is redemption. You can redeem yourself. You can be a good boss again. It is possible. And these are just a list that I'm going to cover in depth in the next few slides. So just reading them off real quick. Empower your people. Rebuild the trust. Quit being distant. Say thank you to your people. Quit blaming. Give them career opportunities. These are what I think are big ones. It's important that these things happen. So moving on. Power to the people. Yes, power to the people. You're their boss, not their babysitter, so don't act like one. Nobody wants to be treated like a 5-year-old at a daycare, so don't treat your people like that. You hired them to do a job, so let them do it. And people, for the most part, well, they're intelligent. People do have a brain, and chances are that's why you hired them. They're good at something that they're doing, so let them do it. And delegate, delegate, delegate. Just because you're the boss doesn't mean you have to do everything. It's okay to delegate things out. Keep track of those things, but don't be the dictator, don't hover over people. You set out the goal, but let them figure out how to reach it. Because that's important, because once you do that, you're setting where the finish line is. But they need to figure out how to get there. And that's important, and that gives people a lot of power. It makes them feel good. And most importantly, let them know you're there if they need you. Don't just set the goal and abandon them. That's just ridiculous, and that's just, well, mean. You shouldn't do that. So let them know that you're there if they need you, because chances are they're going to need you more than once, twice, 3 times, 4 times. They're going to need you. Be available to them. Trust. Trust. This is a big one. People like to work for someone they can trust. Have you ever worked for somebody that you can't trust? It's not fun. Nobody likes to work with people that they just can't trust. Trust is a biggie. And as a supervisor, as a manager, if you project trust and you are trusting, it projects security if you're open and honest, because they know you're not hiding anything, so they feel better about what you're saying. Most people, in all honesty, would rather hear a painful truth rather than a comforting lie. I know I do. I wouldn't want someone to tell me, a little tall tale, and then later I find out an awful truth. Nobody wants that. Trust is one of the primary building blocks of a relationship. Yes, this is. That's what you can build a relationship on. And yes, in the workplace there are relationships. Not quite like family relationships. It's a different dynamic, but there are similarities. And trust is a foundation of that. Once again, if you can't trust the people you're working for, you're not going to like that. And they're not going to like you for it. And then once again, here we go down that slippery slope. And lastly, trust must be earned. Let me say that one again. Trust must be earned. That is so important. You have to earn their trust. And if you're starting off with a whole bunch of people who do not trust you, my hat's off to you, because you're in for a rough road ahead. Be trusting. Earn their trust. And truthfully, time is only going to help you with that. I love that picture. Come out of your office now and then. Yes, don't segregate yourself in your office just because you have one. Get to know your people. Learn their names. I lost count how many times I worked for people who had no clue who I was. Made me feel awful. It made me feel minuscule, like I didn't matter no matter what. Learn your people's name. Learn about them through conversation. Talk to them. You know, if there's people in the break room while you're getting a cup of coffee or whatever, chit chat for a little bit. 5 minutes of chat, 5-10 minutes of chatting isn't going to kill anything. It's going to pay off big for you because you're getting to know people. Learn their interests, hobbies, and what they do when they're not at work. Because yes, people do, well, most people do have a life outside of work. Don't be their friend though. It's kind of a tricky thing. You want to be friendly, but you don't want to be their best friends either. You don't want to go off and braid each other's hair and talk about politics and all. Well, yeah, you don't want to do that. But you don't want to be a stranger either. So you need to find the balance between not quite being the best buds or being a stranger. And yes, sometimes friendships do arise from work relationships. I know I'm still friends with a few people that I used to work with. Most importantly, be genuine. This is so important. People can pick out a fake easier than you think. And if you're just feeding them a line because you think that's what you need to do, they're not going to like that. And they're going to see right through it. So, once again, be genuine. A little thank you goes a long way. Boy, I tell you, it sure does. Say thank you once in a while. Showing gratitude for a job well done can be one of the best rewards you can give somebody. Acknowledging someone's hard work can make their day. It sure did for me more than once. A great way to show a positive attitude and build morale. Yes, yes. It's a good way. Saying thank you to someone and acknowledging hard work, it makes them feel good, but it makes you feel good at the same time. So, give some gratitude. Say thank you. Not acknowledging someone for their hard effort can have negative repercussions. Yes, this is a big one. If you know someone who is busting their butt working on a project, presentation, what have you, and they work so hard on it, but you don't say a word to them about it when they're done with it, they might be a little upset about that. So, food for thought. It only takes you a second. And it's a little thing that can have a big return. A little 2-second thank you and a pat on the back, maybe physically or figuratively, but it can pay off big in the long run. So say thank you. No blaming or gossiping. This is also kind of important, but it's kind of more for a self-image. Complaints go up the corporate ladder, not down. You don't ever complain to the people you work for about your boss, because that makes your boss look terrible and it makes you look bad too. So let's not do that. You're responsible for everything your people do. Yes, you're in charge, you're the boss, you're the head honcho, you're responsible for everybody on your team. You are responsible for their successes and their failures. But failures aren't exactly a bad thing, because failures, well, they can be, but for the most part, failures are how we learn. Trash talking makes you look bad, not the person you're talking about. Yeah, if you're talking about, one of your co-supervisors and you're just trash talking him or her, that doesn't make the other person look bad. That makes you look bad because you're trash talking a coworker. You shouldn't do that. The blame game and gossiping can ruin a good team overnight. Yes, it can. You can have a great team, but the second you start blaming and then gossiping about this and that, you can just throw all that out the window and it's gone. It'll come back, but you're going to be working for it pretty hard. Give your people future opportunities. Yes. Have you ever had a dead-end job? Felt like your job was a means to an end and not going anywhere? Everybody has had one of those jobs, and if you haven't, you are so lucky. I've had my fair share. Dead-end jobs are terrible because you're going into it and knowing that you don't have a future there. So then you question, why am I here? That doesn't beget a good work performance. People give better performances when they have something to work towards. Yes, oh wow, that is so amazing, isn't it? Your people are not liquid assets, so don't treat them like they are. No, they're not. They should not ever be treated like a liquid asset. If you're wanting to show a profit for that fiscal year, letting go your people is the dumbest idea you could possibly do, but yet there's a lot of places that do it. Why? People aren't liquid assets, they're people. And your future just might depend on their future. That one might seem a little odd to you, but if your people don't have a future and you're constantly not giving them opportunities for it, there's a strong possibility that they might complain to somebody about it, and then pretty soon your future at that company is in jeopardy. So yeah. Eventually most people end up with two families, a personal family and a work family. Generally the work family is when you've been there for a while. You know everybody. I've had my fair share of work families. It's a different dynamic than your regular family, like spouses, kids, parents, whatever. It's a different dynamic, but there are similarities. Treat your family good, and if you're the boss, you're the head of the family. So you need to be someone to look up to. So, what is all of this? Here's the summary. Be willing to change. None of this will happen unless you change. You got to be willing to change your ways. Life is too short to be miserable. Nobody wants to be miserable. We spend probably a good portion of our lives working. And if you're miserable doing it, then you just spent a good portion of your life being miserable. Do you want to be responsible for making someone's life, half their life, miserable? I don't. I want to be the kind of boss that they remember in a good way. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. This is something I think people forget about a lot. If you want to be treated well, then maybe you should treat other people well. A good deed can beget another good deed, and it makes you feel good. There are some people that you just can't please. You need to accept that. There are some people that no matter how hard you try, no matter how many thank yous you give them, no matter how many times you talk to them at the water cooler, no matter how many times you open the door for them, they are just not going to be happy. They might not like you, they might not like their work, and if that's the case, maybe they should question why they're even there. But if they're doing a good work performance, you shouldn't just can them because they don't like you. Keep working to win them over. That's a noble effort that should be done more. Give it everything you've got in you to make the change. Change is the hardest thing in the world to do, but yet it is the only constant thing in life. Change is inevitable. If you're not willing to change, then things won't get better. If you're not part of the solution, then you're part of the problem. Be part of the solution. Have hope and be hopeful. Have hope that things are going to get better and be hopeful that they will get better. And that'll happen with hard work from you, the leadership. You need to understand that you're the leadership. You're in charge. You set the pace. It is so important that you understand. And one last thing that I want to have you ponder. Be the boss they'll remember, but in a good way. How many of you have had a boss that you just adored? They would support you no matter what. They would bend over backwards for you because they cared about their people. I know I've had a few bosses like that, and I will never forget them. And I'm sure you will have a few of them as well throughout your life. I'll probably have a few more. So, my presentation, I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you enjoyed the pictures and the references to the movie Office Space. And, while you're at it, just go ahead and watch that movie. It's hilarious. It's a good movie. Pay attention of how not to be. And while you're at it, look up Matt Foley on SNL. Have a good laugh. It's funny. So, this was my presentation. Hope you enjoyed it. Thank you very much for listening. And this is Stuart from lovely Boise, Idaho, signing off. And to all of you, I wish you a Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, Happy Hanukkah, Happy Holidays. Thank you. Bye.